Let me see. We can get it to 50 in the next couple of minutes. I think I can ask the question I want to ask. Okay, so in the last class we started with introduction to SQL. So can someone tell us, or can someone just give us a brief overview of what we discussed in the last class? Anybody at all can unmute your mic and speak. All right, when anybody is ready to speak, let me know. We've had about 20 classes together now. So I don't know the reason why we are still feeling reluctant to unmute our mic and speak in class. If this is what you want us to use the whole of today to do, no problem. Hello. Yeah. You can unmute yourself. Look at me. Hold up. You can unmute yourself and speak.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah. Good evening.
I am Olukemi Awodokun. Well, last class we talked about structured query language, and we're told that it has many dialects, one of which is PostgreSQL. Another is MS SQL. Another is Oracle and the likes of them. And we're told that PostgreSQL is the most used because it's a relational. Yeah, the ones I mentioned before too, they are relational databases, but PostgreSQL is the most used. And we're also told that we can use it to extract data from database into readable format. I mean, to table that analysts can work with. So these are some of the things I got from the last class. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. That wasn't that so bad, was it? So I don't know the reason why we feel reluctant about muting ourselves to speak, especially when it's something that was spoken about in the last class. All right. So thank you very much, Olukemi. Yeah. So in the last class, we started an introduction to SQL. And I remember saying, let me just give you a brief recap, that we can't talk about SQL without talking about databases, isn't it? And we can't really talk about databases without going back to the foundation. So we talked about what Excel does, what Power BI does, how Excel can store data, allow you to work with your data, build visualization, how Power BI can connect to your data sources to analyze and build visualization. And then we talked about the limitation with an application like Excel. And that is the fact that, you are limited to the number of rows and number of columns that you can have on it, isn't it? So we said what happens when your data is going out of this, size. Then you want to begin to look at proper databases. And we looked at the type of databases that we have. We said we have hierarchical, we have objects oriented, we have relational database, which I said is the most popular. Relational database is the most popular. Okay, that is what I said is the most popular. Okay, then we talked about how PostgreSQL is an example of relational data. It allows you to organize your data into rows and columns, right? Table format. Then we also went ahead to look at when we are working with PostgreSQL, as a database. You can either do that from the command line or you do that from pgadmin. And we said what was the difference? Command line is more boring, black and white, everything just looking vague. But pgadmin is more colorful, it makes it more intuitive to learn. It's visually appealing and has some extra features as well that just makes it easy to navigate and manage your database, isn't it? So we now looked at, okay, so you have a database in your PostgreSQL or pgadmin and you want to work with the data that is there. Then we're going to introduce to SQL, which I call structured query language. So I said SQL is what you write to communicate with your database, to extract your data and whatnot. So I remember also talking about SQL having different dialects, and I likened it to, say, the Yoruba language, where you have different dialects. Someone give us an example. You can have Yoruba Ijesha, Yoruba Ekiti, and things like that, isn't it? So just like that, we have as well in SQL. So you have PostgreSQL, you have MySQL, you have Microsoft SQL Server. The dialects they work with from Microsoft SQL Server, CSQL. And we looked at the differences, just a bit of the differences between them. And finally, we went into our pgadmin, connected to our DVD rental database, and we tried our first SQL statement, which was the select statement, isn't it? So, and the last time I opened the slides as well with you was last class, but I was still able to remember all of the things that was talked about. All right, so let's try as much as possible. And many of you still went ahead to watch the video after the class, and we can do better. All right, so at the end of the training, because I'm currently preparing some resources to help people regarding videos to watch, to enhance your skill, or sites where you can get virtual internship, where you can get remote jobs and the likes. Okay, so just preparing resources like that on Google Sheets. It's going to be available to as many as that's not part of the requirement, something I'm required to do anything, but I'm giving it to as many as I see that, okay, yes, we're really committed during the program, okay, and another factor or another criteria is as many as those that submit the video testimonial. So it's not a complex video or anything, okay. When I send the format, you'll see how it's meant to be. Okay, so let's get right into the video. You'll be grateful if I do. Yeah, I'll be grateful if you send in your video testimonial as well. All right, so for today, we are moving on to section 2. Let's see. We said we are going to be talking about retrieving data with select, the where clause and comparison operator, the between operator, the in operator, the like operator, and wildcard characters, sorting query results with order by, limiting query results with limits, aggregation functions, count distinct, max, min, and whatnot. So we'll be looking at all of that. Then we might even look at the as keyword as well today. I think we might look at that because what I have down here might take us about 2 classes. This, in fact, might take us about 2 classes, but let's see how fast we can move though. Now, this is how I take my SQL classes because SQL is something that I know if you don't practice time and time again, you would you'd forget. That is one. Number two is it is easier to give you assessments right here in class. Okay, it's easier for me to say, okay, let us write a query to do something, okay, and then post your query on the chat box. It's easier for me to do that. All right. If it was in Power BI, I cannot say you should do a visualization to do something and then post your visual on the chat box. We'll be having too many pictures. Okay, and then Power BI tool was heavy. Okay, Power BI was heavy, so because it's heavy, we might not flow together. Some people would lag behind. So, but for SQL, it is easier. Okay, so I can easily tell you after the first few queries I write, I can tell you, okay, so I want you to write a query to do the following, right? And I expect to see our answers. Okay, so that is how my SQL class always is. Right, you can ask from those of the previous sets as well. Okay, so I'll give you an example of few examples, then I'll go ahead and give you some questions. Like I'll just read out the question and then you write your query on your system right where you are, and then I expect you to send your answer to the chat box. So so that's how it's going to go. All right. Okay, so I have 60 people that's dropped again. So how many of us still have difficulty setting up our oh wait. Um okay, let's do it like this. How many of us still have difficulty setting up our PG admin and PostgreSQL? So for those that you have tried installing it, not that you have not tried at all, you have tried installing it, but you are having difficulty. Maybe you are having one error here or there. Okay. Please understand my question. You have downloaded the PostgreSQL. Now, while installing or while restoring the database, you are having one issue or another. Let me know how many of us are here. So that's 5 people currently. So just drop a message on. You don't need to say done, no issue. Okay, I'm talking to those that have issue. All right, please. Let's listen to the question. I said, how many of you have issue? You don't need to tell me you don't have issue. If you have issue, signify. Because I am going to set up a class. I don't do this normally, okay, because I expect that you are familiar with the ways of a laptop or computer. Okay, before you say you want to get into tech, you should be familiar with laptop or computer. Okay, so many of the people I helped was here on Thursday last week, during the week rather, on Thursday. Many of the problems they were having were because they did not do the right thing. Basically, it was only one person that I know that okay, if I was not there to actually help the person wouldn't have figured it out, and it was because the person that virus was preventing the installation, but you wouldn't have known. I was the one that took note of that. Okay, but every other person, it was because they're not doing the right thing, basically. All right. So I wouldn't want to jump on a call with you and then you tell me you've not even tried installing it at all. I'll be very vexed. So I am talking to those that have tried installing or you have installed, you are unable to restore your database. Before within any of that category, just signify, let me know how many people I'm talking with here. So just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people. 10 people. 10 people. Okay. So what will happen is this, because like I said, I'll be giving question in class for you to follow along. What will happen is this. Um, I don't know how many can be available for a meeting tomorrow. We'll have a video class tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. My week is totally choked up. I don't know how I want to do this. This is going to be stressful for me. All right. To reduce the stress on me, make sure your system is, I hope your system is fast. Okay, that is what can reduce the stress. And you also have a very fast network. Okay. Once those two are available, then I don't think I should be stressed in any way. All right. So we would have a class tomorrow. I am not making the class compulsory. Don't tell me you don't have time tomorrow. You don't have time tomorrow, there's no problem. Okay. As many as can join tomorrow. All right. If you have issue with your installation, just join the call. I'm going to help you with your installations. What I did for those that joined on Thursday was I took control of their system from my own end, okay, and I helped them with it. So I'll do the same thing on. So I will do the same thing tomorrow as well. So as many of you that can join the call, if you have an issue, I'll send the link by tomorrow. Someone should just remind me once it is 4 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, I'll send the link and then work on what we need to do. Okay, so I think I have 10 people here. I'll take note of those names for tomorrow. Okay, so that's all. Now, for how many of us have installed? Because I know that some people have not even tried to install at all. I don't have any, what's it called? Anything to say to you yet. Okay, because I've been pleading and pleading that you should install. If you have not even tried to install at all, I don't know what to say to you. Now, if you have installed and your database and everything is working, okay, can you kindly signify by raising your hand? Just click on the reactions button. You should see a reactions button, and then you click your raise hand. Let me see how many people I have. You have installed your database, everything is ready to go. So if you know you have installed your database, your PostgreSQL admin is working fine, and you're ready to move along, please signify. I don't have up to 20 people. Really? So if I add 20 to the 10 that had issues, that's 30. So it means out of 63 people, 62 people on this call, out of 62 people on this call, 30 people have attempted installation. 20 people were able to install successfully, 10 were not. The remaining 32 people, they've not even attempted at all. Okay, all right. Finally, now I'm going to lower all the hands I have here. I'll lower all the hands. I'll lower all the hands. Now, if you know you have not installed at all, you have not tried installing at all, can you signify? Just type I haven't on the chat box. If you know you have not tried to install it at all, not that you have tried installing and it's giving you an issue. If you know you have not tried installing it at all, just type I haven't in the chat box. You've not downloaded, you've not installed, you've not tried, you've not attempted it at all. Just type I have not or I haven't in the chat box. right? Not many people, just 3 people. So I will assume the rest of us have installed it then. I think that's a very clear assumption if only 3 people said they haven't installed it. Okay. So for those of you that had issue with the installation, tomorrow I'll send a link. If you're available, join. I would try my best to help you install and set the database up. All right. That's going to take a while. I remember spending about 5 hours on Thursday. I don't really have much time on my hand to be doing all of this. So, I don't know why we are not getting the installation. Um, so remember, those that have tried installing and you have an issue, join the call tomorrow. If you join the call, if I'm about to attend to you and I ask you what's the issue you are having, and you tell me you are not having any issue, you've not even tried downloading at all, I will remove you from the call automatically. All right, so I think that's by the way. So let's get back to our class today. So we're starting with retrieving data with select. Retrieving data with select. So I want you to understand the concept, okay, the whole concept. I'm not meant to talk about limiting, but I think because this is like a standard curriculum that they follow when they want to teach data SQL for data analytics. But I think I might bring the limits. I might teach the limits immediately after the select statement because so that you'll be able to understand and identify the difference in them. Okay. So let's look at select and look at limits. All right. So the select statement is used to retrieve data from a database. Let me open up my PG admin. Okay, so the select statement is used to retrieve data from a database. It allows you to specify which columns to retrieve data from and which tables to retrieve it from. Okay, it allows you to specify. Take note of that. Okay, I went through. I don't like what's it called? It's a chore. It's a task preparing slides. Okay, but I went through the steps to prepare this slide for my classes because I know that they usually have issue when it comes to writing code. They are coming from a background of just analyzing and designing with just click and drop and things like that. Okay, now take note of these things. The select statement allows you to specify which columns to retrieve data from and which tables to retrieve it from. For example, to retrieve all the columns from a table called employees, you would use the following syntax. Select asterisk from employees. Now, this asterisk here means it will return all the columns. The name of the table is what? Employees. That's why you're having from employees. So you are selecting all the columns from employees table. If the name of the table does not have table there, you can see they did not add table. The name of the table is just employees. Okay, so if I go into my PG admin, because some people say it is difficult, but that mindset won't make you get it. It is very, very easy. I've taught people that even said it is easier than the Excel and Power BI. So open your query tool, and then the query we saved in the last class, I'll go ahead and open it by clicking this folder, and then locating the file. Now open it. Good. So this is what I'm going to continue from. So now it says To retrieve all the columns from a table called employees, you would use the following syntax. Select asterisk from employees. Now, if I come to my database here, I don't have any table called employees, isn't it? The tables I have are actor, address, category, city, country, customer, film actor, film category, inventory, language, payment, rental, staff, store. These are the tables I have on the DVD rental database. Okay? Now, if I want to get all the columns, I want to retrieve data from all the columns on the actor table, I will say select asterisk. Now, this asterisk means all the columns. Okay? So, the asterisk here means all the columns. All the columns. SQL is not hard at all. So if I want to select all the columns from the actor table, I will use this query. Now, whenever you run a query, okay, now I'm saying all the columns, and these are all the columns on the table. Whenever you run a query using the select statement and it retrieves data, it will retrieve all the rows automatically. Please take notes. Okay, now the asterisk is retrieving data from all the columns. This is the first column, actor ID, first name, last update. I have 4 columns on this table. Now, you can see how many rows it returned. 200 rows. 200 of 200, isn't it? If I say select, now, instead of all the columns, which is asterisk, I now give the column name. Take note of the column name. If you have underscore somewhere, put the underscore. Okay? For instance, here now I have actor underscore ID. If I want to reference it, I will put it in. I can either put it in quotes, which is double quotes, actor underscore ID. Okay? And then run it. You see that it returns only the first column, actor ID. But the number of rows there is 200, isn't it? So, by default, it will always return all the rows. But you can tell which column it should return. If I want to select the first name as well, after actor ID, I will put comma. Then I will put first name. Now, your column names can be in double quotes, or you can just type them normally. If I say first underscore name, you can see this one is not in double quotes. Okay? You can see that the first name is not in double quotes. Now, if I run it, it will still work fine. You can see that I return the first name with it. All right? Now, why does it work with or without double quotes? Take note. Because of this underscore between first and name, okay, because of the underscore there, these words are joined together. It is now appearing like one word. But if it is not underscore that is between it, if it is space that is between the column name, first name, if it is space that is between them, now it is working like 2 words. SQL will not understand that it is 2 words. It will think it is probably a keyword or something else. So it will not read it as a column name. So if you have space between your column name, that is when it is very good to put it in double quotes. So when you put it in double quotes, Okay, when you put it in double quotes, SQL will now read it as a column name or a table name. But since it is in the select statement, it will be read as a column name. So the double quote allows you to prevent errors when you have space between your column name. But in this case, we don't have space. What we have there is underscore. So it makes it look like it is just one word. That is the reason why you don't have an error. So we're selecting these column names from the actor table. So by default, as I said, it will always return all the rows. Even though I selected just 2 columns, it is still returning 200 rows. If I select just first name and last name, let me remove this actor ID. First name, comma, last name, last underscore name. If I run it, you see that it returns first name and last name. How many rows? 200 rows. It still returns all the number of rows. Okay, now why am I highlighting it? I am highlighting to tell SQL that this is the query I want to run. I can write more than one queries here. Okay, so I need to tell SQL the particular one I want to run. That is why I'm highlighting it. Okay, now select first name, last name. Now, if I now go down and then I say, okay, select first name, last name. You can see I'm separating by comma. The column names, I'm separating by comma. Okay? From the name of the table is what? Actor. Remember. Now, if I want to return just 10 rows, I want just 10 rows. That is when I go ahead and put limit 10. So the limit allows me to, limit the number of rows I want to return. Now, if I run this, you see that it is returning how many rows? Just 10 rows. But if I don't put the limit, okay, the limit will return, if I don't put the limit, all right, it will always return all the data. Okay, so you need to understand the difference between selecting column names and returning a certain number of rows. So if you want to limit the number of rows you are returning, you use the limit keyword. But if you want to select a certain column or certain columns, you use the select and then the column names. And then if you want to select all the columns, you use what? Asterisk key. Isn't it? So now I want us to do a quick study. Okay, some of you might have your PostgreSQL open. All right. Now I want us to do a quick study. Let's go to the let's say film column or the film table. Let me see the columns I have on the film table. I have plenty columns. Okay, now our first task. I'm going to call this task 1. Task 1. Now, I remember telling you that if you want to comment, okay, and you don't want SQL to see that as a code, just use double hyphen before the word. Okay, so it will color it orange, and it means that if you run it, SQL will not see it as a code. So now, task 1. Write a query to return all the data on the film table. Quickly. So I want to be seeing your queries in the chat box now. Task 2. Write a query to return the data on the let's say, title and length columns on the film table. Task 3. Write a query to return the first 20 rows on the film table. So 3 tasks. I have 3 tasks here for you. So go ahead and write out the query. Make sure it runs, okay? Or if you are someone that feel like, okay, you can still understand it, all right? You can see that we are not understanding it. Or rather, sorry, you can see that we are understanding it. Sorry for the slip of tongue. Okay, so the first task says write a query to return all the data on the film table. Let me see what we have. Who is the first person that done this? Windows 11. Very good. Select asterisk from film. You can see someone is still saying from actor. Do you see? Pastor David Oladeji. Why are you saying from actor? Babatunde Oyeniji. Why are you saying from actor? Olubiyi. Why are you saying actor? When we wanted to get data, from the actor table, we use the query select asterisk from actor. That is when the table is actor. But now that the table is film, what will you use? So you can see that at times we are not following in class. We are just what Mr. Malik writes, what I write. So if you made that mistake, go ahead and correct yourself. So let's see, select asterisk from film, select asterisk from film. Okay, very good, very good, very good. All right, so query to return the data on the title and length columns. Who is going to do that? You don't seem to find your bearing. Where is your bearing? What is the issue? With what I've explained so far, I don't think I've said anything much. I still want the select statement alone. So what is the bearing you cannot find? You don't know where to access the dashboard. Once you open your PG admin, expand your DVD rental database. Once you expand it, expand the schemas. Once you expand schemas and public, expand tables. Right click tables and click query tool. When you click query tool, it will open up a blank space for you to write your queries. Okay? So, very good, very good. Select title length from film. Very good. Select title, comma, length from film. Very good. Very good. Now, I thought someone will ask why I'm using capital letters for some, small letters for some. If I'm only using capital letters, then I have the keywords. Okay? I'm using capital letters where I have my keywords. All right? If you use small letters, it will work as well. But I prefer using capital letter. Okay, it's a general, what's it called? If you see SQL queries written online as well, you see that they use capital letters for keywords. All right, so select title, length from film. Beautiful, beautiful. So the final task, write a query to return the first 20 rows on the film table. How will that look like? Some people are already answering it. Very good, HP, very good. Pastor David, very good. The first 20 rows. first 20 rows, how would that look like? I don't guess it. Very good. Olukemi, you want to check your query again. From which table? Tokubie, select what? All right, so let's go ahead and answer the question. So you all have done very well. So a query to return all the data from a film table. That's very easy. I will select asterisk because asterisk will return all the columns, right? From film, because film is the name of the table I want to get data from. So if I run this, I have all the data from the film table. Now, if I don't need all the columns, I need just the title and length columns. What do? You can see I have 1,000 rows in this data. I will select just the title and length columns by saying select title, comma, length from film. I will highlight and run. Do you see that? Okay. Then the final task, the first 20 rows on the film table. Select asterisk from film. But I want just the first 20. So I will say limit 20. Run it. And you can see just 20 rows will be released. Just 20 rows. All right. And that is how the select statement works. Okay. So you use the select statement to extract data. All right. You use the select statement to extract data from your database. So you might be wondering, where does this, where is this stuff we're learning? Where does it come into play? Why are we extracting data from the database like this? We can be given a simple task to find out the list of customers that they have in the company. Okay? The data is on the database. It's not on Excel. That's a question. All right? That's a question for you. They just ask you, now you can't open the data in Excel. You can't open the data in Power BI to see it maybe like a spreadsheet or anything. Okay, you are just on your database. Now they now ask you, please, can you quickly write a query? We want to know how many customers we have in this company. So, can someone help us with that? How will you write that query? Task 4. So this is how the question will come out really. They won't ask you a direct question like this, write a query to return the blah, blah, blah. No. They can just ask you something like this. How many customers do we have in our company? So, can someone help us with this? Oh yeah, let's be fast. Very Very good. Very good. So you see, you are following. So you see that the questions will not come to you directly. If you are in an interview, they won't ask the question directly. This is how they will ask the question. So how many customers do we have in our company? Okay. Although when we get to the aggregate count, okay, the aggregate functions, we'll see how to make use of count to do that as well. Okay, but with what I've taught you so far, simply use select asterisk from. Now, which table contains the details of a customer? This table here, customer. So I will say from customer. Somebody is saying from Hegital. Somebody is saying from company. You need to know the table you are looking for. Okay? There is no cramming in SQL. It is very direct and very easy. So if I say select asterisk from customer and I run this, it will return all the rows. Now, down here, I can easily see that we have 599 customers. Okay, so very easily, and I'll just type it in there, 599, and I've gotten the first question. So they did not need to tell me write a query to do this. No, they don't need to tell me write a query to extract all the number of all the records on the customer table or anything. No, a direct question: how many customers do we have in our company? And you use SQL to answer it. All right, so let's proceed. The where clause. The where clause. The where clause. Now, you can be given a question that includes conditions. Now, this time around, we've used the limit query to get just the top 10. Isn't it? The first 10 or the first 20 or the first number of records, whatever number you're looking at, right? But what if you don't just want to use the limit query? You want to apply some conditions. Now, okay, until this condition, okay, the where clause is used to filter the data that is retrieved by a select statement. Now remember, the select statement will return all the data. The where clause is what will filter that data and select the ones that meet the criteria. So it allows you to specify one or more conditions that must be met. You can see, you can specify one or more than one. So those conditions in order for a row to be returned. So if that row meets the condition, to return it. If not, we hide it. So comparison operators such as equal to, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal to. So this means not equal to, are used to compare values in the where clause. So when you have numeric value, you can use these comparison operators to compare. For example, to retrieve all employees whose salary is greater than 50,000, you would use the following syntax. Select this from employees where salary greater than 50,000. This salary that is mentioned here, okay, is a column name. All right, so let's go into our PG admin and see how we can use the where clause. So let's say I select all, select asterisk, from um, from film, and then I run this. I'm selecting all the data from the film table, isn't it? Everything. Now I see some numeric columns here that contains numbers, isn't it? All right. I see some numeric columns that contain numbers. My microphone is not loud. How much more do you want me to increase my voice or to shout? All right, so let us select just a few columns from this table. So let's select the title column, the film ID, the title, and let's say the rental rate. Okay, or let's say replacement cost rather, replacement cost. All right, so just 3 columns. Now select film ID, title, replacement cost from film. I run this. Good. Now I have the film ID, I have the title, and I have the replacement cost. Isn't it? Now, this is returning all the films that we have, 1,000 films. What if I don't want to see all the 1,000 films? I just need films that, the replacement cost is greater than $18. Okay? Greater than $18. All right. Now you see that the currency is not included in the column. So you don't need to include currency. Just the figure is enough. Okay? Now, I want replacement cost to be higher than $18. So which comparison operator will I use? I will use greater than sign, isn't it? So I will start by saying select. So let's just work with just these 3 columns. From film. Now, we know that this query will return all the data, but I want it to filter the replacement cost and return only those films that are greater than $18. I will now say what's the name of the column I want to compare? Replacement cost. Replacement cost greater than 18. Okay? Greater than 18. Simply. So when I run this, you see that it's returned 578 records now. 578 records. Okay, so everything here, their replacement cost is greater than $18. Olu, your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Yes, I was just thinking about something, Mr. Malik. Could you also look at it in terms of, rather than picking the whole 3 columns, could we say select replacement cost from film where replacement cost is greater than 18? Would that be possible?
Yes, you can do that. But then what insight will you be generating from that? Now, let's look at that. If I say select replacement cost and this, if I run it, then I don't know the movies. I don't know the title of the movies.
Fair enough. You've actually you've answered my question. Thanks.
Okay, good. So back to this. Now, the where clause, we've been able to include a condition that the replacement cost is greater than 18. Okay? So it doesn't matter if I select just 3 columns or I select all the columns. Select asterisk from film where replacement cost greater than 18. It will still return all 578. The only difference is that this time around, it will return all the columns. Now, so I can see the detail for all the movies that the replacement cost is greater than $18. Adepi, you have a question?
Yes, sir. It's also the same question that Lulu asked. Is it possible for you to select film ID from film? I mean, select film ID from film where
the film kind ID, of questions. Okay, let me
film ID as in
let me
select.
Say something. You know the kind of questions I like students asking. You know the kind of questions I like students asking. Now, this question you're asking, okay, I believe you have SQL as well open on your system. Now, before you ask a question, you can easily try it yourself. Okay, is it possible for this to happen? You try it yourself. Now, if you see that it doesn't happen, or probably you have an error, you can then go ahead and ask, oh, sir, is it possible to do this? Then if I tell you it is not possible, then you know that confirms the error you're having. But if I tell you it is possible, then you tell me, oh, you've tried it, but you're not having it. You see that it's better that way, and we won't have to draw the class behind. Okay? Rather than saying, sir, is it possible to, and you have not tried it. All right. So if you want to select just the film ID, why are you selecting only film ID? Remember, the questions will not come to you direct, like select just these certain columns. They will ask you a straight question. So they can ask you a question like this. Let's see. I have a query for us. I have a task for us. I think we're on task 5, isn't it? Yes, task 5. So, how many movies do we have that costs more than $21 to replace? How many movies do we have that cost more than $21 to replace? Nobody will ask you select only the film ID or select only the title. Okay? But when you see a question, the idea is how can you interpret that question? Okay? So let me see. Who can decipher this? So how many movies do we have that cost more than $21 to replace? So can we write out the query to answer that question? Only 2 people. Or how many people have answered?